honeymoon phase is officially over. You are now in the grind of your academic semester, and it definitely is starting to feel like it too. You might also feel that you've wasted time, and you didn't. Even though you may feel this way, I really want you to reframe your thinking. This is an opportunity for you to pivot your priorities and adjust your schedule. You also need to remind yourself that you are paying for this experience. Though it may be transformative, that part is transactional. So we want to make sure we get the most out of it. The second thing is about assessing that belonging. Now, hanging out with your friends is cool, but even though that might be what I like doing, I also want to make sure that I'm having some structured time, especially as I'm going into my industry or getting acclimated to the institution. So I recommend that you do one registered student organization, or if your RA is doing floor programming and you live on campus, I would encourage you to go to that too. As a former RA, I'm pretty sure they'll appreciate it. But this is also going beyond the social interactions. I would start coming up with some opportunities for study groups. And as a graduate student, those were extremely profound and really helpful. So those are strategies that you can do outside of class. But in class, I want you to find those people that know what the heck they're talking about and start to form study groups. I typically had a 3-lecture system that I would spot the person that knew what they were talking about. Then I would sit next to that person on that next class. And by the 3rd class, there would be some form of interaction. I would compliment some artifact or something along those lines. And then we would set up a day that week to start studying for the test. This is the season when we lock up cuffing season, and those relationships and responsibilities start to heighten in terms of severity and priority. So they're going to start asking for a little bit more time with you, whether that is your romantic partner, your family and friends, because they want to be invested in your world, especially if you really dived in those first 4 to 6 weeks, interacting, being acclimated on campus and things like that. They're starting to miss you. And so this is where that starts to heighten up. In my personal world, this is where all of the birthdays, anniversaries, end of the year celebrations, and gratitude season all come up and kick into high gear. So this is also where I'm telling people, no, I don't want to hang out, or I don't have the capacity to do so. It is okay to tell people no, because it's not a no forever. It's just a not right now. If you have the opportunity to go home frequently throughout the semester, your family and friends see this as you coming home. You see this as I am visiting. So they're going to load on those same responsibilities that you had when you were at home during high school. And if the rejection, loneliness, guilt, all of those things are getting in the way of you navigating your day-to-day life, it is time to go ahead and seek out some big assistance, right? This is where you start using our campus resources like the therapist or counseling center, tutoring center. You also look at student support services. I used to work in an office that did a lot of those things. And this is where you start seeking out some additional support. You shouldn't have to feel that you're going through this by yourself, because one, you pay too much money. We've gotten through all of the things that are happening outside the classroom. But what about the stuff that's happening inside the classroom and how that impacts your performance? Because it's all a lot. And most of those struggles that you see that happen outside the classroom manifest inside the classroom as well. The really important thing is to look at the overall schedule and take it step by step. So take those study sessions and break them up into smaller chunks. Go to office hours. And I'm going to do a video that talks a little bit about how to navigate office hours if you're a little bit unsure. Professors notice the effort, and though they may not be able to grade effort, they'll be able to provide some strategies and tips on how to navigate those barriers and those burdens that you're having with grasping the information. So I'm going to give you something that I wish I would have known after 6 semesters in undergrad. And this has been completely transformative, especially in my graduate school and even when I was doing PhD studies. So the first thing I would do is I review lecture slides and actually write them out by hand. I know you're like, wait a minute, it is 2025. What are you talking about? Yes, I know this. There's tons of research that helps support that writing it down starts the retaining and studying process. So go ahead and write it out. If you have the privilege of having a tablet or an iPad, you could go ahead and utilize that too. But I would definitely take the opportunity to not just annotate on slides, but write it physically by hand and leave space so that you can add notes from lecture and from the textbook later. Then I want you to look at the lecture slides and then look at the textbook if you have one, and only focus on the information that has lecture slides on it. This lets you know that your professor wants you to focus on this material. What I would do is read a little bit, write some definitions. I would even change the color of the ink. So I'm writing the page number, I'm writing definitions all before I go to class, because class is meant for complementing what I'm doing outside of the classroom, not learning everything in the classroom. Then I would go to lecture and I would use a different color and highlight and write down all of the things that the professor highlighted on. So if the professor added some anecdotes or other research and other information, I'm going to put that in my notes. This also further reinforces the type of questions they're going to ask in their exam, or what type of prompt I'm going to have for my paper. Then once I've done all of that, whether it's getting ready for a paper, preparing for a group project, or preparing for an exam, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record myself talking about the topic after some time has passed. What that's going to help do is, one, if I'm preparing for a paper, that's good old-fashioned brainstorming and free writing. If I'm working on a group project, this lets me focus on the things that we want to highlight in our project, so we can focus on that. If it's a presentation, I get to focus a little bit about what I'm going to do. And then if this is preparing for an exam, I can start seeing those connections that I'm going to have, because the exam is going to be a mixture of definition questions, but also application questions. Remember, even though this is the 6-week mark, you are not behind. You are just adjusting, and that is okay. Remember, I am rooting for you because I'm already such a fan of yours,